Good evening, everybody. October 17th, 2021. Bitcoin has, of course, chosen to make things more complicated. And we had some typical Sunday whipsaw here. So I'm going to go over the various scenarios that I had on Friday night's video. And kind of talk about them in turn. So the first one that I said was potentially that this was the C wave. This wave here was the C wave of 3, right? So that's talking about this move right here. There was our C of 3, and then we were entering the 4 of this move in this action that we had over the weekend, and then we would get a 5 of 5 up from here. And this is counting, if we zoom out here, we had our major first wave, if you look at the circle 1 here, major second wave, if you look at the circle 2 down here, this one here, okay, and then we are looking for the major circle 3 right now, but we should have 5 waves within it, and I'm looking for the top of this first wave of that third wave, basically. So that's what we've been looking for. That's what I've been trying to figure out in here. And if you look at these in parentheses, these Roman numerals here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're working on 5, I believe. So these various scenarios basically depend on when this 5 ends. And so this one is, in my opinion, right now the most likely because it had this reaction from the bottom of this channel, which I drew Friday night. I drew this channel when we had that 3 in place. We had the 2 in place back here. So, we should see, if this is correct, we should see a move up to the top of this channel, and it depends on how quickly it moves there, where exactly that'll be. If we go literally straight up from here, we could get 66. If it takes its time, we could get this 67, 67 and a half. If it really takes its time, I mean, it could even continue kind of working its way upwards there a little bit further to 68, 69. But whenever it hits the top of this channel, if this scenario is the correct one, we should then see a pullback from here in a second wave. And so basically we now have to wait for this top to be put in place before we can, and then a pullback to start, before we can see where the most logical place for that pullback to end would be. So that was scenario number 1 that I went over on Friday, and it is kind of looking like that might be the case. I've always said don't trust Sunday action, so all of this was Sunday action here, so perhaps that still is not trustworthy action. If we broke above this high, right, like 63K, if we broke above that high at 63, this would be almost guaranteed, basically. At the moment, this could still be playing out my scenario 2 in a more convoluted fashion, but it could be until it breaks 63K, because this could be an A wave down. There's our Sunday B wave, which it likes to do, and we could get a C wave down here. And usually that would be target zone of anywhere between the 618 and the 1236, which is right about there. So it actually doesn't lead down particularly far if that were the case, A, B, and C. But I would anticipate, if this is going to play out and it breaks this trend line here, I would anticipate that it would break down even further and at least give us this 54, 53.6, somewhere in that region. So that is a possibility still, but obviously it's not clear which it intends to do. Best case scenario would have been to just break here, but obviously it didn't do that. So, all right, so that is scenario 2. If we do top out and come down to about 54, then I'll assume that 5 actually completed back here. So that's still technically on the table until 63K breaks. All right, and then scenario 3 is that this is pushing too high too fast, right? And instead of this being a 1, 2, and 3, the more that we just continue to just push up, we just continue to grind up. We're already at the 764, which is pretty extended for a first wave of a third wave. If we go even further and we get all the way up to this 1.0 extension, I'm going to be on like red alert for this just to be an A, B, and C. And really anywhere between 73 and 84, that 1 to a 1, 2, 3, 6 extension there. If it tops out anywhere in that region and then comes down, we've made an ABC up. The issue with that is that there are 2 possibilities from there. The first possibility is bullish still, in that we get to that region, we've made our ABC up, we get into that region, and then we do an ABC down. And in this, we're going to get a lot of overlap, right? This is our 1 wave, and that'll be our 4th wave right there. We'll get lots of overlap, and it'll be pretty painful because we're just going to get lots of chop. It's going to be huge swings on the way up to this target zone. And in that instance, we're probably only going to get the original zone, which was 80,000 to 100,000, this zone in here. If we start making these ABC moves up like that, that's what I'll assume is happening, is that we're doing an ending diagonal upwards. The other possibility is bearish, in that we may get ABC somewhere up here, and then we just start dying, and it comes down. I mean, it can go back down into the 20s. And it's bearish in the short term, but in the long term, it may actually be okay. Longer term, I think I showed you on this chart, we could technically, if this is an A wave, this could be our B wave up, and we could still get a C wave down and just revisit this region again. Technically, that's still on the table, and that's getting more and more worrisome for me as we approach that 1.0 to 1, 2, 3, 6 extension with no pullback, or no substantial pullback. All right, and then the final scenario that I'm looking at would be if this continues to push higher, but instead of topping out at 84, if we can keep on pressing, and there will be some pullbacks along the way, but if we can push up and actually break that 1, 2, 3, 6 and get ourselves up into the $90,000 to $100,000 range without doing like that big overlapping wave down, then I'll have to assume that we just had like a really micro 1, 2 in here, which occurred right here in this region. And that is possible. This might be 1 and 2 and just be a really, really shallow 2, and now we're moving into 3. So if this were the case, for this to be the case, once we get over 72.7 at the 1.0 extension, we must remain above 57.6 at all times in order for that to be the case. And really, we should hold 63. Like, if this presses upwards to 84 and then comes down to hold 63, that would be okay. We could still get up here in this region for 3. As long as we hold that 63 region, and definitely need to hold above 57.6. So when I say that it has made things considerably more complicated, that's what I'm talking about. We have just a whole bunch of scenarios here, and nothing has been made very clear. So I will be much more comfortable if we get a decent pullback, like right now. We still could get a pullback from this region. Sunday action is a bunch of BS, so we still could get a healthy pullback from here. We could also finish this off and get a healthy pullback from there. And by healthy pullback, I mean, well, we'll draw a fib, but like I would say, let's see, from the bottom, let's say it gets all the way to this region here, this 67. And this won't be accurate, obviously, until it actually gives us a top. But if we get there, I would really like to see it come down to at least the 382, which is 55K, and potentially even lower. I mean, it could do a nice, healthy pullback here into this 49 to 55K region. Anywhere in here would be a really healthy wave 2 still, even though wave 1 extended. So, like I said, we're just going to have to wait at this point and see what the next action brings. Will we reach the top of this trend line? Will we pull back? Once we do, will we break this bottom trend line? Those are kind of the main questions right now. If we break through this top trend line, where exactly do we top out here, and where do we hold on the pullback from there? And all of those questions need to be answered before we get more information. So obviously, whatever it does, I'm fine with. I bought here, my average is 42.7, or excuse me, I rebought, because I bought all the way back here, obviously down in the 30K range, and then I sold it up here at 50.8, rebought 42.7, and so now I'm not selling that unless it stops me break even. If that comes down and gets all the way to 42.7 again, we're in real trouble, so I'll just stop out at break even. I won't have lost anything. That's fine by me. So I can afford to wait this out and let it give me more information. I'm not messing with leverage on this right now. It is just too unpredictable. There's too many variables. And there will be opportunity in the future to play with some leverage. It's not worth the risk right now, in my opinion, on Bitcoin. So as soon as we start getting a healthy pullback, then that'll be a different story. But up until that time, this is very unpredictable. All right. I think that pretty much sums up all of the scenarios that I can anticipate right now. So sorry I don't have any clearer answers than that, but we'll keep watching it, and we'll see what the action brings overnight and at the beginning of the week. All right. Good night, everybody.